That's what I'm saying. Like some have boyfriends where they're like, yeah, I love it.
I know that. But what I'm saying is,
You're talking about us?
no, I'm just saying. I'm saying this. I don't know how to talk about this.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Tom and Bert have managed to dig deep and redefine rock bottom. And I'm not talking about the gay club they did their last Porosos promo out of, with Bert kitted out in his bloated bottom outfit. I'm talking about two of the biggest comedy podcasters in the world hooking themselves up to a vitamin IV on their podcast and proceeding to brag about their Rolex watch collections and how cool it is to own expensive cars. Some of you are probably rolling your eyes already right now as you realize that this was all one big gag. Because if you recall a couple of years ago, this is precisely what triggered Tom Segura's downfall. This is why the pause hit back and hurt Tom's feelings so badly that he almost went full Brendan Schaub rage cry on the show.
Oh, can I just say this real quick?
Yeah.
Every time we talk about like a watch or a car, I'll get a bunch of messages from losers that try to tell me that I'm making them feel bad about their situation. You're in control of your own situation and your own feelings. So don't put it on me that you feel bad that I have something that, but I'm struggling with rent this month. Figure it the out, okay? Like, don't make my life be a problem for your life. Here's the thing: if you're still mad about this, just know that it's your mindset and you're thinking like a loser. But you don't have to.
You don't.
You can change the way you think, but you have to accept the way you're thinking right now is not going to get you anywhere. You're being bitter, you're being petty, you're insecure, you're not confident, and you can change that, but you have to be proactive.
And so Tom would regret saying those words soon enough after he cemented his reputation as a rich arsehole who was completely out of touch with his fans and the comedy audience more broadly. As a former Tom Segura comedy fan myself, nothing has been more tragic than seeing him go from funny fat dude to old hack comedian in the space of just a few years. And it was all thanks to the hardwood flooring in that gym. But that's another story. And so now that Two Bears, One Cave has seen a significant drop in viewership over the last couple of years since their fans came to realize their true character, they've been trying to claw their way back desperately by leaning into all of their controversies. We've seen Bert's endless therapy sessions admitting that he's a narcissist, a bad father, and a problem drinker, but since Tom got into bed with Netflix, he's actually quietened down a lot. I've said this many times, but Tom has become so fucking boring after his publicist told him that he needed to cool things down after the infamous airport meltdown, which resulted in him deleting a whole month of embarrassing tweets. But now that their numbers are falling fast, they've run out of content ideas and have no interesting guests to bring on. They've resorted to cheap gags to stir up their fan base.
Hey guys, brand new episode of Two Bears, One Cave. It's me and Tommy and our health regiment. We believe wholeheartedly in IVs. Giving us our IV today is Coco. Coco is about to stick Tom. If you have a fear of needles, turn your head. So we're getting 200 milligrams. And by the way, we're not doctors. We're just reciting what Coco said. 200 milligrams is probably pretty typical. You can do an NAD drip where...
I do 500 when I get the drip.
Joe gets 500 when he does the drip, and Joe does the drip with a push. So he gets a bag pushing it so it goes faster.
That's insane to me.
And this guy's giving me my NAD. He does not know that I know Joe. And he goes, there's this guy that gets the drip, and he does it fast. He said he can do it in like 10 minutes.
It's insane.
I said, who? And he goes, his name's Joe Rogan. And he goes, big intravenous drug user. I said, who? He said, Joe Rogan. I said, what makes you say that? And he goes, well, that's who likes the drip fast. Am I right, Coco? Intravenous drug users.
How? Because it's like it crushes you. But there is that feeling when you get it where like it actually can like you feel pain, right? Like
you feel like you're having a fucking heart attack.
So why would an intravenous drug user enjoy that?
Here, Coco, come here, stand next to me.
Well, I don't know. I guess it depends kind of like what their high is that they're chasing and what sensation they're wanting to feel.
Well,
Damn,
when you take
nothing
NAD,
about that feels pleasurable though.
No.
When you take NAD, you feel like you're having a heart attack. You're like, it's like this.
Clearly, they know how douchey and out of touch we think they are for the whole vitamin IV thing. That's why they did this. It'll make more sense as we go along and get into their expensive watches and cars. But nothing beats Bert's disgusting display of gluttony recently when he stuffed his face with a burger, all while hooked up to a vitamin IV at a Porosos party. Because there's nothing funnier than two middle-aged multimillionaires hanging out with guests who are paid to stand there and laugh at their jokes for the cameras. And did you notice how Bert has to stir up shit about Rogan? In every episode, he finds a way to shit on one of his friends by blurting out some personal secret. Now the whole world knows that Joe Rogan's a junkie. Fucking Bert can't keep his mouth shut. It didn't stop there though, because once Bert was done with the IV, he got the nurse to jab him in the ass with an energy shot, just to get him through the day. I never thought I'd see the day when comedians became douchier than finance bros. But the saddest part is that Bert thinks he's the healthiest he's ever been. Despite taking meds for diabetes, high blood pressure and cholesterol, and don't forget the TRT, Bert will do anything to avoid living a healthier lifestyle.
This is where I'm going to sound out of touch to our fans. I don't know what an IV costs, and I get them every week. I get one a week, and I'll tell you, anyone listening, my blood work came back 2 months ago.
Yeah,
and still partying, still on vodka. Mm-hmm. Best numbers I had ever had, and I was like, it's fucking IVs. Do you know who put me onto this? Chappelle. What's the cheapest you can get an IV for?
Depends what's in it, right?
It really depends. Like the most basic drip is probably around $200, but it also depends where you are. Bigger cities, they might mark it up a little more than little towns.
Do you know Tech 9? Tech 9 owns an IV company. I want to start an IV company just so I can get a deal on IVs. I get IVs every other. I think
there's probably a different way to get a deal.
We do fractional franchising.
There you go.
For $25,000. I've already looked into a fractional franchise. All I need is a brick and mortar, and I'm thinking about buying a building to start an IV company just so I can get fucking IVs cheap.
If Brendan Schaub isn't careful, Bert's going to steal his spot as the internet's biggest business shark. And there is no way he's only doing one IV per week. He's previously said that he does them twice a week, and just there, he was about to blurt out that he gets them every other day. The guy's going to end up on life support and still brag that his bloods are perfect. But like I said at the beginning, Tom and Bert are just trying to trigger their fans, and they're trolling us because they've run out of shit to say on camera and can't book decent guests anymore since their numbers have tanked. Even Andrew Schultz went on the YMH podcast instead of Two Bears to promote his latest comedy grift, even though he went on like 20 other podcasts. It didn't stop there though, and this is the really cringy part. If we needed any more evidence that these guys are both terrible actors, then we've got it right here.
So speaking of being out of touch and not knowing the prices of things, you see this new line of Rolexes that came out?
Dude, they look great. They look great. Let's spend the whole time talking about Rolexes.
You know that people are in that world. They're people are scared of Rolex. Rolex is terrifying as a brand and a company because they're like the Vatican. They're so powerful. The way that they allow you to be, let's say, an authorized dealer, dude, they send in people that you don't know are there. They check everything from the cloth on the table that you display on, the way that the logo is displayed on the wall, and they give you critiques that you don't know about. At the end of the year, they come in and they go, you didn't do this shit right.
The guy who started Rolex set everything up in a trust. So Rolex has more money than God.
Yeah.
So when the market dips and everyone else scrambles to try to figure out fucking what to do, he's like, the Rolex is like, we'll be good for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
What's also cool, and there's the last thing I'm gonna say about watches, and I just need
Please continue.
Don't need a watch. It's almost like stupid to have you have to be a fucking idiot to have a watch on. Only a fucking moron would spend $80,000 on a watch.
Yeah.
A fucking idiot.
Right, just to tell the time?
But that's what makes it sexy.
Yeah.
Handmade, handcrafted. If you open mine up on the back, you can see the inner workings of this watch.
See, the thing that Tom never quite understood about the backlash he got for being an out-of-touch millionaire is that nobody gives a fuck about watches. We're not sad or offended because he's rich. We're just bored of listening to them talking about all the shit they have all the time. Like, what is this, Harvard Business School? What are we doing, a case study on Rolex's business model and how robust it is? That's what it means to be out of touch. They simply don't get it. We're not offended, we're fucking bored. And I have no issue with Tom going on all these luxury watch YouTube channels where they critique his watch collection, or when he did a video about his custom GT3 with the guy from Smoking Tires, who, incidentally, was the guy who got Rogan into watches. I actually think that's kind of cool. Of course, multimillionaires are going to have hobbies outside of work, and they're going to look for ways to enjoy their money. I'd do the same thing if I'm being honest. Where they went wrong was thinking that their comedy fans want to hear about it 3 times a week.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm not a watch guy. I'm into Rolexes.
Yeah, I know you are.
The reason I take that back. I have 2 other watches. A good friend gave me one of our good friends, and then I got one in Paris. I never wear them. But what's cool about them, and this is a soft pitch to anyone who's not irate right now.
Yeah,
is, man, Tudor is an amazing watch, and it's made by Rolex. It's in the family of Rolex. Tudor's a great watch.
Well, listen, I know,
and it's a great way to celebrate a benchmark in your life, and to make you smile.
People do it get into it for different reasons. Some of it for the art involved, because they are like pieces of art.
Yeah.
Some of it to, like you say, mark.
I look at this watch and I think My
benchmark.
Special Lucky is streaming right now on Netflix.
There you go.
And it was streamed in the top 10 for 2 weeks. And I treated myself when I went to Vegas, and I said, every time I look at this watch, I remember that 2 weeks, and like it was just a great moment in my life. So I buy something to remind myself of that good feelings.
Fuck me dead, where do I start? Rich fat comedian promotes Netflix comedy special by bragging about expensive watch collection while hooked up to a vitamin IV in his podcast studio.
We've heard you. We know the fans love Watch Talk, and we promise, we'll keep it up. We'll keep telling you things that we've acquired that you can dream about.
Let's talk about Porsches. Can I tell you what is interesting?
Sure.
I'm not a car guy at all.
I know you're not.
I'm not. I was with Kyle Busch. He said, "What kind of car do you drive?" And I said, "Oh, it's a Mercedes." He goes, "What kind?" And I said, "The white one."
The white one.
And he goes, "What?" And I said, "I'm not a car guy." He goes, "You really don't follow cars?" And I said, "Not at all." And I'm being dead serious. After that Porsche podcast,
Yeah.
I think Porsche is the sexiest. Just hearing them talk about a brand.
Yeah.
And the longevity of the brand and what struggles the brand has had. You told me last night, I think conversations like this are fascinating to me.
Well, for several years now, the Macan has been like the top seller, and the Cayenne, the SUVs, these do extremely well for the company. And basically the cars that like people are, I would say, the most passionate about is like the GT line for Porsche, like GT3s and everything. That line, the GT division, is basically supported by the fact that they sell so many of these other cars.
I think
they wouldn't be profitable if they were like, we just make GT3s. There wouldn't be a lot.
This is a really interesting pivot, because maybe this is a disconnect where people hear us talk about watches and they don't understand. It's not talking about the ones we actually have. It's always about the ones you want.
Yeah.
What's fun for me
is like the chase.
The chase. I hope you're connecting to this and understanding what I'm talking about. It's like the funnest part of buying a car is looking at cars.
Yeah.
Is the funnest part. I do this. I eventize my life way too much. Like right now, the greatest part about today is Sunday for me, because it's the Masters just started today.
Okay.
And I can't wait to Sunday. I'm picking out my outfit. I'm wearing my Masters hat. I'm going to be watching it all day. I'm going to be drinking mint juleps. Any good you want. And whether it's watches, dude, never buy a watch, but look at them. They're so fun to look at. I look at watches I'll never buy.
What are we doing here, B? This is what it's come down to. If you can't buy expensive shit like us, just go window shopping. It's just as good, trust me. This has to be the most unrelatable podcast I've ever listened to. All we need is for Joe Rogan to tell us that money isn't real, it's just fun coupons, and we'll hit the out-of-touch millionaire comedian trifecta. I don't know if you guys have heard the story, but years ago one time, Brian Callen actually said to Rogan, all you've got to do is get to a point where you don't worry about paying when you're out for dinner. That's how you know you've made it. Everything else is just a bonus. See, Rogan has what you call fuck you money. You poors will never understand. Like Tom said, you've got to figure it out. Don't make his money your problem. I'm starting to get the hang of this. But let's put money to the side for now, because have you noticed that Bert has a fetish for black people? I've always suspected him of being, well, you know, but this next clip just confirmed it for me. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Okay, hang on. You got to find the gay black couple. I don't know what their names are. The gay black couple that make food for each other.
Yeah.
The one's like a queen. He's got long nails, and the other's like power bottom. Like he's a fucking man. And he's like, hey, and he claps his nails like this, and he's like, that's him. You found him. First shot. Go. Yeah. That's it. Tom, this guy's awesome. He's big about his pickles.
Yeah. You watch this a lot?
I watch this a lot. I think he slams this dude night and day.
Just all the weight off of him?
Dude, this couple confuses me so much. This mac and cheese always looks good. Bro, I kind of want to watch them
You can.
I bet I can. I bet they have see if they have an OnlyFans. If they have an OnlyFans, we're going to it right now. Can I tell you what I love about black men? Not these black
They have
men.
8.7 million followers
What the
on TikTok?
Please have an OnlyFans.
No.
You know what just popped into my head? Remember that time when Rogan said he wishes he could feel what it's like to be a woman and take a big schlong inside him? I'm pretty sure it was Rogan that said that. What is it with these guys and their weird-ass fantasies, and why are they so open with them? They are way too comfortable with their sexuality, and not in a good way. Actually, now that I think about it, in last week's episode, or maybe the week before, I can't remember, Bert kept telling the producers to bring up famous guys with big dongs. There's some strange energy going on in that room. I honestly wouldn't be surprised one day if one of the top 250 comedy assassins blew the whistle on the mothership green room and exposed all the fucked up shenanigans that go on in there. There's no way Rogan, Tony Hinchcliffe, Bert Kreischer, and Ron White are sitting in there smoking cigars and telling dick jokes. There has got to be more to it than just that. In fact, later on in this episode, Tom and Bert offered their producers $1 million to taste their jizz. Even after they all said no, Bert just kept pushing it and pushing it. Seriously, this episode was so fucking weird. And as usual, it eventually turned into a Bert therapy session. After all, Bert just wants to talk about Bert. As long as you're talking about Bert, then Bert's happy.
You know, Instagram's kind of like the zoo a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm just sneaking into their lives
and
watching it and going like, that's so crazy. And then I go back to my life and I'm like, oof. That was a close call. It's funny. I get in this thing. I have a real problem with Instagram, you know, because I disappear in it. Like, but it's not like I've blocked everything comedy. I don't want anything comedy. I said to myself the other day, I saw a picture of me and Leanne when Leanne was pregnant.
On Instagram?
Yeah, I'll text it to you guys. I want you to see it only because I want you to see how happy I am.
Yeah.
And I realized why I was so happy.
That you were having a baby?
Well, no.
Oh.
No, she's pregnant. She doesn't look that great. I'm kidding. No, but I was happy, Tom.
Yeah.
Because I was present. I was making zero money. I had zero. Look at how happy I am.
Yeah.
I had zero. I was still fat, but I still was as bald as I am today. And I was so present. And I said to myself, what am I doing on my phone? What am I doing on my phone? I'm wasting my life. I'm scrolling. Just scrolling, look at other people live. And then I realized how much of my life is performative. And I started looking at Instagram going like, how much of people's lives are performative?
Is there anything you would do without posting it?
No.
Nothing.
I'm getting an IV on camera right now.
Well, we both are. But
I know.
I've gotten 100 IVs and they're not, this is the first
every time I post it.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know why I post half the shit I post. And then what's crazy is when you have a great moment and you're like, this would be fucking epic to post. And your kids are like, nah. And you're like, what the
Really?
Do you know what they said to me one time? Dodgers hit me up and like, yo, you want to come? I was like, yeah. And they're like, how many? I said, 4. And they go, great. I said, girls, you want to go to opening day? And they're like, yes, that'd be great. We get in the car and George and Isla go, hey, no phones. I said, what? She goes, no Instagram today. Let's just have like a day as a family. And I was like, what's the point? I don't know. It's an addiction to, I don't know. There's something. It's
The
like,
feedback you like.
you know what it is? It's like everyone wants to be seen.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to feel valuable.
Yeah.
And feel, hey, look at me. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like everyone else.
Yeah.
Maybe a little hyper version of that. But that's the thing. It's like,
But like, if you didn't post it, it's like almost it didn't happen for you.
Yeah, Bert, you're just like everybody else. I said in my review of his comedy special on my Patreon that Bert's basically the male Amy Schumer of comedy, but now I'm convinced that he sounds like a 19-year-old Instagram model trapped in an overweight middle-aged man's body. Mind you, he has 2 daughters in college. Imagine your bloated, fame-obsessed father didn't want to take you to a baseball game unless he could post pics on Instagram. And when you said no phones allowed, he couldn't understand what the point of going was, so he sneaks his phone in anyway to take selfies and post them on Instagram. That's gotta fuck you up as a teenage girl. Actually, do you guys remember that movie Amy Schumer did a while ago where she plays that character that doesn't realize that she's fat and ugly because she sees herself as really pretty like a supermodel, and everyone around her is attracted to her confidence or some shit like that? Honestly, I've never seen it myself. My friend told me about it the other day. I think it's called I Feel Pretty or something like that, and it was directed by Abby Cohn and Mark Silverstein, starring Amy Schumer in the lead role and Michelle Williams, Rory Scovel, and Emily Ratajkowski in supporting roles. Anyway, that's what Bert's like. He really is the male version of Amy Schumer, only fatter, redder, and not as funny. Honestly, I've never seen the movie, just to be clear. Whatever, you guys. Just remember, though, if you want to see my detailed breakdowns of all the Netflix comedy specials and all the big Kill Tony shows, don't forget to head over to my Patreon via the link in the description. There's a bunch of other stuff on there that you might be interested in as well, so go and check that out. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe to my channel right here on YouTube and hit the like button while you're here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
there was a young kid on Kill Tony when your episode that was actually really funny. And I was like, God, man, I gotta be real honest. I don't know if I could do a minute.
Minute's rough.
A minute's rough.